right. We're making some changes.
Some big changes.
You do realize it is Christmas Eve, sir.
Black Mask, put a bounty on my head. Where is he?
This time tomorrow, Gotham's gonna be mine. You'll die badly, Batman. Making that happen is my personal mission in life. I'm gonna dedicate every waking minute to tracking you down and taking you out.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Splinter 47 here with the Christian, aka the Boyce. I think we all know what we're here for. We're here for some discussions of Batman Arkham Origins.
We're here to give Gotham not the review that they need, but the review Gotham deserves. Specifically, Arkham Origins.
Yes, Arkham Origins, what is considered the prequel to leading up to everything in just Arkham Asylum. And
Think so?
I would say so. I mean, they did market it as that kind of. Wasn't it like the early years of Batman, pretty much?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it directly led into Arkham Asylum, though.
Yeah, not leading into it. I guess sort of I guess you could call it the early years of Batman before the events of Arkham Asylum take place.
Or I guess setting up what the first two games, I guess, did. So they're kind of trying to set up a nice little neat picture there. I mean, should we warn people that there are going to be spoilers here, or is it going to be spoiler free?
I don't know how you're looking to do this year. I mean, it's going to be definitely it's going to be some things we're going to talk about. It's going to be hard to kind of tiptoe around and just going to be have it be completely vague. So I think it's fair enough that we let the good people at home aware that we're going to be talking about some major plot points here.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to be spoiled at all, well, I don't know what to tell you. This review might not be for you, but if you're not that worried about it, I mean, I don't think it's something that I guess totally ruins the game, but it's something that needs to be talked. It just we can't. I guess we could.
We could definitely discuss as much as we can without really saying much, and then we'll kind of spend some time and let people know ahead of time. We'll discuss some things that go on in the game. Although, like you said, it's not really major things that will ruin your experience or ruin your overall thoughts of the entire Arkham games. Really, it's just something that we need to discuss on. Yeah,
they're just elements of the story that are kind of they're important and they just need to be talked about. I guess when we get up to that part, we'll let people know. Okay, spoiler time. It's time to get your jimmies rustled, if you're still listening. So
So if you don't know already, I mean, the basic premise of Arkham Origins, you're playing as the early years of Batman before the events of Arkham Asylum. He's kind of starting to make a name for himself. People that aren't really trusting him yet. He hasn't really made the name of himself as the Dark Knight.
They don't know what he's about. A lot of people don't even know if he's a person. People think he's some sort of demon or something.
Yeah, I mean, it does harken to like the first movie with Michael Keaton. Saying that he's all these crazy rumors about him. It's like he's a bat. He eats people and shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah, so you're playing you start off in the early years, so he's starting to kind of make a name, and then Black Mask, I guess, puts a bounty on his head, and then just well, I forgot what the amount was. It was quite a few millions there.
I think it was 50 million.
Yeah, so he places a $50 million bounty on him, and then just hires a bunch of assassins. So it's just a cavalcade of different characters from the Batman universe, like Deathstroke. What else we got on there? Some other ones that maybe not the most.
They got Deadshot, who was in Arkham City. They have a redone version of Copperhead, who is a ridiculous-looking villain. But I think they did a good job in remaking Copperhead. They made Copperhead into a girl. She was some sort of Hispanic girl, and then she had a pretty good concept. Because Copperhead, I don't know, you probably have never heard of Copperhead, but he's like some sort of cobra. Like his costume is like a cobra. Like on his head is a cobra's head. Like he looks ridiculous. He looks almost like a cheap Halloween costume for Pharaoh or something. Like it looks ridiculous, but they did a good job redoing him. They have Bane before he got all roided out on the Venom. Who else do they have? Lady Shiva, who is in cahoots with Ra's al Ghul, and they have early Riddler.
And Penguin was in it a little bit.
Yeah, he was in it. He was in it as well. So
a few similar villains from the games like Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, and a few newer ones that some may or may not be aware of if they do or don't follow the comic books. So we have that in this game here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not really. I usually kind of like when superhero games or superhero games do some things like that, where they take F-list heroes, like it's not even D-list heroes, but just one-shot villains, rather, not heroes, but villains that they just kind of put them in the game, and they maybe, I don't know, put their own twist on it, or they just have them as a interesting encounter here and there. I'm not, sometimes I guess people don't like that, but I kind of like when they do that, when they delve deep into the mythos and they just kind of reach out and just take some random villain from a bygone era and they just put him in there. Like Copperhead, I didn't know who the hell Copperhead was. I looked him up afterwards. And I'm into Batman, so it was kind of interesting just learning a little bit more about the rogue gallery of villains.
Yeah, I see what you mean there. I mean, it also does keep things a bit fresh, because you don't want them to just use the same villains, because they've already used kind of the main ones that you're aware of in the past games. So I think I didn't mind the direction they took by bringing in some of the probably obscure ones like Firefly. Never heard of Firefly.
Oh no, me neither. Yeah.
In Batman, I just mainly know the main villains, the top 5, top 10, Ra's al Ghul, villains like that, just from the animated series, a little bit of what I read in comics, like the Long Halloween and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing too obscure, but I did like that they put in some of the more obscure ones in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned keeping things fresh. I don't know if this game exactly keeps things too fresh. It doesn't seem this game isn't exactly reinventing the wheel or the Batmobile, the Batmobile.
Batmobile, yeah. I've definitely expressed much of that in terms of I guess some of the things you do in the game, and also just the combat itself. It's I mean, it's basically a copy and paste of what the Arkham City did well, and just a lot of the things like the Riddler's trophies are basically in there, but they're named differently.
Yeah.
Like you do go about it different ways. You have to go disable network relays in order to unlock certain. I don't recall what exactly they do if you disable them all, but I never bothered to get into it that much because I delved too much time into the Riddler trophies in Arkham City.
You mean not the extortion packs, but
there were other ones where you would have the relays
them.
where you had to batarang them, and apparently I guess if you batarang enough of them, you would gain access to the Riddler servers or something like that.
Yeah, no, I think the relay towers of they were like antennas or something. They would allow you to use the quick what do you call it? Use the bat wing in order to move from each section quickly. If you destroy all 10, it unlocks that area for use with the bat wing.
Yeah, they added fast traveling
Yeah.
in this game, which is not too bad because it kind of gets a bit tedious going from place to place, especially in those games because there's not much to really explore because it just is completely desolate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even recall if they really explained well why exactly Gotham was so empty. I think there was some type of, I guess it was just pre-holidays, and also there was some type of city curfew. But I didn't think they probably
You mean in
explained
this
it as
one?
well. Yeah, in this one, I mean, there's nobody outside at all.
Yeah.
Compared to Arkham City, because it was like locked down, a certain part of that city there.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some people voice their concerns with that. Me personally, that didn't really bother me because I could kind of suspend my disbelief over the fact that, okay, well, all the villains, like, people know these mercenaries are out there, all these villains are out there, so they're just going to stay home. And the police are out there as well. The police are at times just as bad in Gotham City. And that doesn't bother me too much because, it's not... I mean, what exactly can they do with having people out there, in this kind of game? It's not, like, me personally, it doesn't bother me. I mean, I can kind of see what people might say, because I don't really see this as an open world game. I see this more as a Metroidvania kind of game. So,
it didn't really concern me either. It's just something I noticed there. It just personally for me, like just going out there and gliding around doesn't do it very much for me because it's not really a lot to explore or a lot to see, much compared to like GTA, things like that.
Yeah. No,
But it's just mainly there as a I guess a conduit just to get you from point A to point B and just have slightly different locales.
Yeah, I mean, I think I guess the problem you have is just the incongruency. There's just slight little things, little details that don't really make sense, when you put them together. And I guess we'll talk about that in a bit because there seem to be a lot of things that they're there, but they don't quite make sense that they're there. Like you just have to take them for what they're worth, but it doesn't, the game doesn't motivate you enough to really take it for what it is, I mean, I guess when we talk about the story a bit, we'll get on these incongruencies. Because I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about the mechanics of the game?
The mechanics, I felt that they weren't as fine tuned as Arkham City was. I especially had a problem with the combat because there were a lot of instances where you would hit the Y button to counter on the Xbox, and it was sometimes not register it, or it would be slightly delayed, and it just wasn't as polished as Arkham City was. Just recently playing Arkham City on the stream I did, it was very, very fluid, very tight. You would know when you mess up, and you would know when it was on rare instances. I mean, the Arkham City gameplay wasn't perfect either, but it was pretty damn good. And that there were very rare instances where the game was fighting against you, but other times it was completely your fault while you missed a counter.
Yeah.
This one on the other hand it was just not as well polished, and there was some small slight delays that just wasn't as fine tuned as Arkham City was.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree. I don't think it was as crisp as Arkham City specifically. I mean, me personally, I didn't really have too many problems with the combat. I guess because maybe the way I approach the free flow is a little bit more slow. Like I don't really, because I was watching you play, and you really jump from enemy to enemy and enemy to enemy. I just, me myself, I guess I take a little bit more time, and I guess I didn't encounter some of these problems where you try to do one thing and it wouldn't quite work because you're still doing some sort of animation, or a counter wouldn't work, or you try to leap over to attack another person, but Batman would just kind of kick at air right in front of him, like he wouldn't jump, snap, there will be instances where you wouldn't snap from person to person, and that definitely
Right.
did happen to me. So
Yeah, I'm one that plays it really fast paced, and I go from one enemy to the other, and just I'm all over the place, and sometimes yeah, like you mentioned, it sometimes didn't necessarily target the right enemies you wanted them to, and also it just you would end up just hitting air pretty much, and just kind of ruining your combo there. So I try to go for as much as the higher combos as possible. So I had to slow myself down in order for that game to keep up with me, actually. So it just that's how much I slightly had an issue with the combat there.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I can. It lacked a bit. It was like a notch down, I'd say. I wouldn't say it was horrendous or absolutely terrible, but you can see where this is a different studio working on it and not Rocksteady. They can imitate well, but they don't do it quite as good as Rocksteady does. So
yeah, I don't know what it was, but there is definitely a difference you'll notice. As much as I spent so many hours in the combat challenge rooms there, I definitely noticed a slight difference between the two in some way, shape, or form, just in terms of the combat. So that's what we. So yeah, it's a little bit not as fine tuned there, and there's also just a lot of issues with it in terms of just bugs. I didn't encounter much of the bugs that people encounter where they weren't able to progress to the game because they couldn't open a vent or climb up a vent. Mainly the ones I've experienced the most is just the game freezing and just black screen. When the cutscene would load, it was just a black screen, nothing would happen. So you had to start off from the dashboard or just completely turn off your console.
yeah, it happened to me a handful of times as well.
Yeah,
How many times did it happen to
10
you?
times. I kept track about 10 times.
10 times.
Yeah.
I mean,
About
for
throughout
me
the
it
whole
was-
experience, yeah.
For me, it was maybe like half of that. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, like again, it's a legitimate gripe. Then I think about games like Skyrim, where it had tons of bugs. I mean, serious bugs where you couldn't progress with certain missions and stuff like that. And people are often like, "Oh, well, this is a game of grand scope. Let's give it a pass. Let's give it a pass. Let's give it a pass. GTA Online. Let's give it a pass. Give it a pass. Let's give it a pass." And this game has glitches are glitches. They're inexcusable. But I don't know. I mean, you said people reported glitches where they couldn't advance through the game. So
Yeah, there were definitely some of that, and also just their saves getting corrupted, things like that.
That's terrible. That's really bad.
It definitely playing it. It feels rushed. I think overall the whole product feels a bit rushed, and I think it's not. It doesn't completely ruin the game. With those small bugs or not. For me, it didn't bother me. It was annoying having to turn off the console and turn it back on to start playing again. But it didn't completely ruin the whole experience. But it does feel a bit that they could have probably done with a month or two of fine tuning in terms of all those bugs.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing that I feel about this game. Because it's very similar. It's almost the same exact game as Arkham City. Across the board, I think it looks maybe a little bit better. The way it handles a little bit worse, but generally it's the same kind of game. It has the same beats. The thing is, this being WB Montreal, and I think as a developer, maybe they were pressured to do this. I'm sure they wanted to do this because this is a good franchise, but I think WB Games pressured them, and they're probably planning on putting out a Batman game every year, and they probably pressured them to get this out this year. And I'm sure they wanted to take the safe route, which is the good route, because those past games were really good, as opposed to trying something a little too different and messing up on it because they're restricted with time, and maybe they're not as talented as Rocksteady. So then, you have these problems with the bugs. You have problems with maybe the combat not being as fine-tuned as it should be. And then, the game being as similar as it is to the previous ones. That I'm not trying to give them a pass, but, I feel it's somewhat unfair that people are really saying that this game is a cash grab. They're just doing this just for the money. They're not really trying to do anything out of the ordinary, it does worry me that this might turn into Assassin's Creed, where it comes out every year and it's pretty much the same game, and it's kind of, no one's ever really enthusiastic about Assassin's Creed anymore. It's just like, oh, well, it's Assassin's Creed. It's a B plus kind of player. Yeah, like Daniel Bryan. I wouldn't want this game series to be, turned to a B plus. So that, because WB Montreal, their people, they have to eat, they have families, they got to make their money, so they're probably not going to take too much of a risk with something that is, almost guaranteed money, being this franchise, along with it being a license of Batman. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to excuse it.
I see where it's coming from in terms of, this being. I definitely can. I wouldn't. I don't know if forgive is the right word, but I could definitely understand where this is coming from. This game, this does feel like something that the WB Games felt like they had to put out this year just for the sake of putting out a Batman game.
Yeah.
Probably Rocksteady is probably working on the next gen Batman game, most likely. So that's why they didn't have them work on this.
Yeah.
So they're just basically having this pumped out real quick just to have something out this year. So I can definitely see this coming from a different developer. I can slightly forgive some of the stuff that they have in here that's not completely new or innovative to the series. There are definitely some highs and lows for this game. I think it does some interesting things that slightly better than what Rocksteady has done. Like I do like some of the direction they took for the cutscenes. I think the cutscenes look really good. It's like pre-rendered.
Yeah.
So they look really nice. The cutscenes are really, just gorgeous to look at. And also, there was actually an improvement personally, like the detective stuff when you're a couple of side quests where you go ahead and investigate murders.
Yeah.
They went ahead and just have you, go from certain spots around that crime scene, and it basically, recreates the crime scene. You can go ahead and hit left and right trigger to rewind and fast forward through the crime scene, and you have to find certain parts of certain pieces of that are relevant to the crime. It's not the most complex or challenging thing. It's pretty easy, and most of it is repetitive. But I like that they at least went about it differently than just point and scan and hold the A button and that's it.
Yeah, I like that they made a lot of them optional. Some of them you have to do to progress the story, but in the previous games, all of them you had to do to progress the story. In this one, you actually, it's not exactly time sensitive, I guess would be the word. Because, for example, in the previous ones, you're trying to find Gordon, you're trying to get, tail a bad guy, so you're not really, you're kind of investigating a crime scene, but it I don't know, it kind of doesn't make any sense, because when you're doing forensics, you got to take your time. You're not on a rush for time, really. And this, they present a crime scene and you're trying to find all the clues and you're trying to piece everything together. And I thought, like you said, it wasn't groundbreaking, but it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. It was that little twist, how you have a different pace to the forensics, I thought made them a little bit better, a little bit more compelling than in the previous games. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the first time or maybe second time you did it, where it involved Black Mask. I thought that was interesting. Him putting the pieces together, and you get this little detailed information on certain areas that you scan. Dead bodies and maybe like a lit cigar that was there before, you know, stuff like that. That was interesting, and yeah, most of that stuff was optional that you didn't have to do to progress the story. Like a lot of it, you like in the past game, you were, I think it was either Arkham Asylum or Arkham City, where well, it was Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. You would scan it and you would follow the trail. So I think it was Gordon's cigar in Arkham Asylum, and then just a blood trail from one of the chicks from the League of Shadows. You were trailing to lead to Ra's al Ghul. But yeah, most of that forensic stuff was optional, which is nice. Just nice little side quest distractions there. But going back to just this game and being developed by a different developer, I can slightly forgive some of the stuff on here. I didn't have much expectations for this game. I think I was just mainly really looking to play another Batman game personally, because I do like those games, and I wasn't expecting anything new or innovative. And some of the slight stuff that they did add on there was a nice improvement to those games. It's just the problem is it's more the same, which I like, but it's not as well done as the past games.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. I mean, some of the little things like you said that they added. I think I guess the cinematography, like you said, is much better. I mean, I think this game does the action a little bit better than the previous games. And the boss fights generally are better. I mean, specifically the boss fights where you're going up against brutes, they got kind of tired and old in the last games, where you just have to throw a batarang and then just gonna dodge. And that's when you could actually kind of go toe-to-toe against the brutes. It wasn't them just charging at you all the time. I mean, maybe the Bane fight was kind of like that, but so just fighting against regular old brutes, it wasn't. They changed it up a bit, and I really appreciated that. And like you said, the cutscenes are really good as well. But then there were other little things that they added that didn't quite make much of a difference, so it didn't make much sense. I mean, they added a few things here and there that honestly I don't even remember because they're so negligible. They added, a few different abilities you can use during combos, but again, you never even really bothered to use them in the first place. You know what I mean?
The shock gloves were the slightly new addition
to
it. I think it was mainly there to help you out if you didn't like having to go that extra step in stunning enemies with shields or jumping over enemies with those shock batons. You can just, because if you get enough combos in, you start to build up energy on your gloves, and you can start just basically tapping the X button pretty much on everything. It would get the job done. It was more of like a faster way to get through the combat, which I
wasn't crazy about.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about it either. I hardly would ever use it, only if some parts of the game got annoying. Like I definitely used it for the Bane encounter, but that was about it, just to get through it.
Yeah, and they also had that it was like a concussion grenade or something. I don't know if that was even in the previous games. I really do not remember if it was, but it was something else that was just completely negligible for me.
It was sort of the equivalent of the shock, the shotgun you had in Arkham City was sort of equivalent to that, because you would throw the concussion grenade and then it would start going nuts. And if they had a gun, they would start shooting up the area that they're around, or they would start punching around. It was sort of equivalent to that. A lot of things that they incorporate in the game is basically stuff that you've had, the gadgets you had in Arkham City. They're just called something different. Like the Arkham City had the ice grenade, which is one is like a glue grenade.
Yeah.
Things like that.
I mean, that's another thing I kind of have a bit of a problem with when it came to this game. Just the gadgets and the level that Batman is at, even though this is his second year, and I think Arkham Asylum and Arkham City are many years after this, or supposed to be many years after this, yet he still has pretty much all of the gadgets that he had years afterwards in this. You know, I mean, gadgets that are supposed to be prototypes almost in Arkham City and Arkham Asylum, he has them in this, and it's almost they don't even bother to. It's like they don't give a damn. It's just like, oh, we're just gonna put these gadgets on here because that's just what we had in the previous game. Because we have to follow the same beats with enemy encounters and progression of the level. So of course we got to have glue grenades, even though they had the ice grenades in the previous one, and Batman never mentions or he never. Like in Arkham City, he never says, "Oh well, why the hell am I going to use? Why the hell am I going to go after Freeze to get these ice grenades? Well, I could just go ahead and get the glue grenades I got like decades ago." You know, it doesn't. Batman's pretty smart.
Some of that stuff doesn't quite meld well for the other games moving forward. Like I think he would have benefited pretty well if he kept those. I think definitely for that Killer Croc encounter, he would have definitely benefited from those shock gloves in Arkham Origins.
Yes. Yeah. And he just doesn't. You know, it almost doesn't make sense why they're in the game. It just, you know, there's just a number of decisions that they make with the story and the progression of the game that are kind of puzzling. They don't quite make any sense. I mean, again, I guess we're about to get into that, but I mean, I would say
the same for the past games, to be honest. Like not in terms of the combat or anything, just mainly maybe small things with the story, and also just the way that the world is structured. That if you look too much into it, you're just not gonna be too satisfied with it. So you just kind of let some of that stuff pass, like that ludonarrative dissonance.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that I'm at odds with because it's something that a lot of Metroidvania games do. You know, Metroid games do this, Castlevania games do this, and we just kind of, you know, let it slide. But then we kind of don't let it slide for a game like. I mean, I don't know. Do you agree that this is a Metroidvania kind of game? These Batman games?
I mean, in a way, yeah. I mean, you're progressing through the game. You earn newer gadgets by either doing some side quest or some of the gadgets unlocked during the story missions that you go through, and you can use them on New Game Plus.
Yeah.
And there's definitely some puzzles and areas that you can't access because you don't have the necessary equipment to get through them. Like some of the Riddler stuff you can't get unless you have a glue grenade to plug the steam so you can walk through it.
Yeah. Stuff
like that.
I guess it's because the gadgets are such an integral part of Batman, and they're so tied into the story that they probably are more. They're more important in a game like this than they would be in a Metroidvania game, you know, like a Metroid game or a Castlevania game, where you just take them at face value. You just get them because you get them. They're just there. Those games don't have the strongest stories. This is supposed to have, you know, a legitimate story here. I mean, you know, you advance and you become stronger as you get these gadgets. You outsmart enemies using the gadgets. You progress through the world, progress through the story using these gadgets. So I think they're a little bit more important than you know, the Metroidvania kinds of games. So I mean, I'm honestly I'm just conflicted. I guess it's just the gadgets problem is it makes other things that don't make sense in this game more apparent. It's just some of the design decisions are kind of frustrating.
Yeah, some parts of it is interesting. I like some of the boss battles, even though I can agree some of them are really repetitive unless you kind of really suck at them. Like I was quite impressed with the Deathstroke boss battle, but they work. It was kind of repetitive if you didn't do them right. If you ended up getting killed and just going through that process of it's just mainly a big quick time event. But it was nice to look at.
Yeah, it looked great, but like you said, it was a quick time event. Mostly, and
yeah, the Firefly ones, it was a little bit like that too, but it did require it was repetitive. I think that's what the past games sort of. I think Arkham Asylum, especially some of the boss battles were a bit repetitive. I think the Arkham City did fine tune some of the boss battles. I think the best boss battle to date from that series is the Mr. Freeze boss battle.
Yeah, because you have to use it's in Predator mode the entire time, and you're clearly outmatched physically. You can't really go toe to toe against Mr. Freeze, so you have to use your Dark Knight prowess to go up against them. And
yeah, for that character,
yeah.
for that character, and from what the combat they had laid out with the Predator, pretty much combat, it worked because it wasn't just a big quick time event. You had to actually use the Predator combat that was been already established that you've kind of used in the past games, and in that game just to take out mainly the henchmen, but you had to use this against someone who is, like I mentioned, definitely could take you out really quick.
Yeah, but even then, now when I think about it, it makes me a little depressed at the future of this franchise, because even that fight, you're like, okay, well, first I'm going to use this gadget, and then it's going to progress for me to using this gadget, and then of course I got to use this gadget, because after you use one, he does something that doesn't allow you to use that same gadget again. So it's like you kind of go through gadget to gadget, and it becomes, I don't know, I guess predictable in a way. The mechanics are too apparent. I mean, that definitely was the best boss fight, and it was really, really good. But I'm saying, if this series doesn't start changing things up, it's gonna turn into that, where you're just like, oh well, here comes the boss fight where I'm just using the glue grenades. Here comes the boss fight where I'm just disrupting and waiting for this, and then so I could do that. It becomes too almost, I don't know, scripted and predictable.
Right. I mean that boss battle in particular, I did like that aspect where he adapted to what you did just once, because it does prevent you from just doing the same thing over and over again on him. So it does end up challenging you and trying other methods, and especially playing it on a harder difficulty or New Game Plus, you have to do everything. You have to make sure you do certain things first before you do anything else, because it would prevent you from trying other, like, 2 different takedowns if you go about it a different way. So you kind of screwed there. But yeah, it does definitely need to change things up in terms of some of those boss battles and just some of the combat encounters. Hopefully they change it up on the next game, and some quick time events will work better than others. I think the Deathstroke one was fine. It worked for that character, and others, it depends on the character that you're going against. You have to do different things for each one in order to make them relevant to that character. So if you're going to be going up against, like, let's say the Mad Hatter, you have to go through some different ways about taking them down compared to, like, a brute. I think they slightly did that. Definitely with that encounter in Arkham Origins, it was more a little bit of platforming and just going. It was a little bit of weird puzzles that they added in there with that Mad Hatter thing, opening doors, and I had no idea what I was supposed to do, but I managed to get through that.
Yeah. I mean, even that. I mean, that was, I guess, taking inspiration from some of the more cool encounters. I mean, I think the Scarecrow encounter in Arkham Asylum was amazing. It was one of my favorite parts of the game. It's pretty creepy, and I thought it was effective, for what it was trying to be. And even in, I don't think it was Scarecrow in City. It was Mad Hatter. It's pretty much Mad Hatter, so it was almost like they copied the same exact thing for City. Now that I think about it, so it didn't quite have the same effect as it did in the previous 2 games.
No, it was just mainly you walking around and platforming a little bit, and some of the platforming is not the best.
Yeah, especially at the camera angle, it didn't quite work.
Yeah, that definitely didn't help either.
Yeah. I mean, I know this is probably, I found that Gotham, or the area of Gotham in this, was actually pretty well done, even though, like you said, there weren't you don't really explore, and there aren't people around or anything. You just kind of zip line and grapple. But there are a few instances where I actually kind of stood still for a bit and kind of panned around to look at the environment. And I thought they did a pretty good job at detailing the different areas of Gotham in this one. I mean, I don't know if you noticed or if you care to pay attention to some of the architecture.
Some parts look really good, especially around the area where there's a lot of the Christmas decorations. It does take place, I think, on Christmas Eve or maybe Christmas, one of those two. But yeah, there's some really nice looking areas where they have Christmas decorations laid out there, which looks pretty nice, and it did remind me a lot of like Batman Returns, because I think that took place during Christmas, so it did have that feel and look to it. Very very dark, and there's some parts where there's some color going on there. It's suited for Batman. It's just always dark and gloomy Gotham City.
Yeah, it's an interesting juxtaposition between Christmas decorations and just how dirty and rundown and desolate Gotham is. I mean, it's almost exaggerated. I know Gotham is supposed to be based off of New York, but there were some areas. I mean, even when you go to the hotel, like midway through the game, I don't know if you remember some of the areas in the basement. They're just completely run down, like it's falling apart, literally. And it's supposed to be like a very big and prestigious hotel. But it's kind of cool. It's because it's supposed to be a little bit exaggerated, given the content. But I mean, I guess generally we kind of agree on the mechanics of the game and the fighting and how you progress through the game. But I don't know. There's still that huge elephant in the room, which is the story and how it progresses. Which is, oh boy.
Yeah, we could definitely get into that now. If for those listening right now, if you don't want to really hear anything about the story beats of this game, then I think it's a better time than now to tune out. I don't know if we should state, I guess, if we should recommend it or not right now before they tune out, or if we just give them probably 5 to 10 minutes to fast forward. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we could give our scores and just briefly summarize how we feel about the story and then get into it afterwards.
Okay. Well, yeah, overall I thought this, I mean, there were some, like you mentioned, there were some high points and low points. I would say that if you're looking just to play another Batman game, I think I would say you probably pick this up at a discounted price. I wouldn't be too comfortable in saying to purchase this at full price at this point. I know that they're currently working on a patch right now to resolve some of the bugs that we discussed earlier. Some of the occasional freezing and just some of the parts where you're unable to progress. But overall, it's tough. It's tough, man. Because I do love the Batman games, but I will say that if you're looking to play more of the same, I think it's definitely, I guess I would recommend it just at a lower price there, but keep in mind it's not going to be as well done as the previous games. But if you're looking to play more of just the same, I think it's it's not too bad. I would say I'd probably give this a really average score of a 7 out of 10. I think it's a solid 7. It doesn't reinvent the wheel. It recycles a lot of things from Arkham City, which are good, but it's one of those things where at this point, after a second game, and after they do it again on the third one, it's kind of starting to get a little stale. It's time to kind of start doing some different things there. It's sort of similar to what's going on with the Assassin's Creed games, but yeah, I'd give this a solid 7. Definitely, if you really want to play a Batman game, a new Batman game, I think you can pick this up. I would recommend picking it up at a lower price if you're not too sure about it. I would probably even go as far as just go ahead and replay Arkham City, because you might end up feeling a bit disappointed after you play Arkham Origins.
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you on this one. I'd say maybe 80% of the game is exactly the same as Arkham City, but not quite. Like a notch down from what they did. The combat, the way you progress through the story, they don't really do anything different. They add a few things here and there. I guess maybe the most notable thing that they added was fast travel, because it seems the map is bigger. But it's largely disappointing at some of the things that they try to do differently. They try to make unique here. They don't quite hit it. It's not a masterpiece like the previous game, Arkham City. And I know, I guess the most disappointing thing is there are some things here that are very promising, specifically in a story, and I guess in the opportunity of approaching, an early Batman adventure. They kind of miss the necessary beats in order to make this gel right and make it unique and make it different and make it really, really good. I also give it a 7. Like Splinter said, wait till it's drops in price. Maybe
not a 3.5 like Jim Sterling.
No. I mean, his opinion, I pretty much agree with. It's just, I'm sure he's a person that feels that the number score on a game almost doesn't matter. It's not a fair assessment of a game. Yeah, at the same time, he's putting that, like, he's not ignorant to the fact that a 3.5 out of 10 is making a statement. Like, he's doing that to make a statement, yet he also feels, the score of a game shouldn't matter. It's a tad bit sensationalist. I mean, I can understand if he's upset about it, but I don't. You have to be a little bit objective here when you're reviewing. Like, you have to be fair. This is not the 3.5 out of 7. I mean, out of 10. This is a game that's playable and it's good, but given the circumstances, and also the final product that takes it down from it being a 9.5 or a 9, as the previous games were. Definitely not a 3.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, just like I've stated and what I think we mostly agree upon. The thing is that I think I would have been perfectly fine, if I would have been perfectly fine just if it was just the same, more of the same, and having also a little bit of slight improvements. Mm-hmm. I would have been fine with that. I probably would have given it a slightly higher score, but it's just the problem is it doesn't do a lot of the same things as well as as Arkham City does.
Yeah, it's just underwhelming.
Yeah, just underwhelming, and just kind of overall doesn't leave you with much to ponder on or make you really want to go back to it. For me, anyways.
Yeah. I mean, the previous games, they really left an impression. This is a game that, I guess, once the new consoles come out, people are kind of, it's not going to be as fresh in people's memories. People are not going to be harkening back to, remember Arkham Origins? That was such a great game. Now, people still, like Splinter said, play Arkham City. It's really, really good. It's really, really
play Arkham City if you haven't played it already. If you have, go ahead and replay it. I know that it's probably really cheap nowadays. The Arkham City Game of the Year edition has all the DLC and such. So if you haven't played the games, it's definitely worth probably chipping in about probably less than $20 for the Arkham City Game of the Year edition. I think it's going to be a more of a worthwhile investment than Arkham Origins.
Yeah, and you also forgot, I guess part of the single player they have. I mean, they have the Wayne Tech and also have these little challenges you can do in the single player that actually they hold some merit this time, where they can help you unlock certain things if you do, you perform certain actions. I thought that was it was a step to the side, but it was interesting. It was something different. And there was also the multiplayer, which I haven't even played, but I don't think is anything you should spend time on in this game. This game is not meant to be, played online against other people. But I guess, I guess if they include something that's good, maybe I wouldn't have a problem with some good anything added on that's actually good, but it's not. It's not good from all accounts.
Yeah, I can't say much about the multiplayer either. I haven't played it myself. I've read some things, and it turns out to be quite very average. Much like this game is. It's from what I've heard, it's quite average to mediocre. But that's I guess a topic for another day if I ever go back to it and try it out. But
yeah.
like some of the ideas seemed promising for it, but yeah, I didn't it didn't leave me with a great impression to go ahead and try it. That's, to be honest, to go ahead and say that. So yeah, like overall, like you mentioned there, I think it's an average attempt by a different studio. So I guess you probably will mostly agree for the most part. You probably should go ahead and probably skip this one, or probably buy it at a discounted price, really discounted price.
Yeah.
So what did you want to discuss mainly in terms of some of the interesting directions that the plot took in this game?
Well,
I know it did take a couple of twists and turns, as they say. Some of them left you for me, it left me baffled, and some of them just kind of made me feel nothing, because I kind of sort of expected it.
It's like, yeah, it's just, oh, well, that person died. Well, I just felt nothing about it.
Yeah,
I just felt a certain way, and it was nothing. But I mean,
what stood out to you the most that you wanted to discuss?
It's just, okay, the basic, or the premise they were putting forward, the average, the PR team, is that, like we said, Black Mask, he puts a bounty of $50 million on Batman. Yeah, all these assassins that are conjuring together, or they're all, they're congregating, rather, on Gotham City to take out the Batman. And he's kind of, it's a little too much for him to handle. I think that's an awesome premise that they don't really explore at all. They kind of set it up, and then the story just, that story beat, that story arc doesn't really develop. It's stillborn. And then it gets to a certain point where you find out Black Mask is not Black Mask, but in fact he's the Joker. So then you have two different story arcs here. You have Black Mask, the assassins, and Batman, and then you have Batman and Joker's first encounter. Two premises that could be amazing games in and of themselves. They're kind of mishmashed here together, and they're just both ruined. It's bad because this is put together, it doesn't make any sense, and it's also bad and disappointing because these are two potentially amazing stories that are just kind of wasted, because they should not explore this again. They shouldn't say, oh, well, we kind of messed up. How about we just, listen to Christian, and let's just make two different games with these two different stories. No. WB Montreal, don't make that game for me. I'm not going to play it.
DLC.
Yeah. It's going to be like BioWare's edited ending. It's going to be the Christian edited Arkham Origins DLC. The story just never really took off. I mean, it was its best when you finally do go after the Joker, or the whole hotel incident. I thought that was its best. I mean, particularly when you had that Bane boss fight, and you kind of see that camera view from the Dean's helicopter. I thought that was pretty cool. And, I thought that whole area was just kind of cool, and then you can kind of see a glimpse of Batman kind of thinking to himself, this is a little too much. This is a different kind of villain, this Joker. He sees every floor he goes to, there are people just laid out dead, gruesome fashion. And that was great. I think that was the best part of the game, but it was very unfulfilling, and it's just, when it comes to a superhero game, you have to suspend your disbelief to an extent. But when you can't really expect people to suspend their disbelief when it comes to story structure, because we're all adults here. You You can fool children, but you can't really fool us. I mean, even if we don't know exactly what it is, we kind of feel something's off, even if we don't sit down and analyze it. It's just, and then some of the boss fights kind of throw away. I mean, how they treat Deathstroke. I mean, Deathstroke is probably the most deadly, if not as deadly as Bane. He's the most deadly assassin out of all of them, and you just kind of beat him up early on. It's just like, yeah, there he goes. That's it. You saw Deathstroke. We gave you an awesome trailer, and you were probably expecting there to be some awesome Deathstroke moments, but this is pretty much what you get. It's good, but that's about it. Kind of premature.
I will say, I will say one of the highlights for me was the electrocutioner boss fight, which
oh yeah,
it just came out of nowhere. I think it was one of the most pleasant surprises of that game.
Yes.
Where you just, I don't know if you want to say it, or I guess.
No, I mean this is it.
Yeah.
This is spoiler territory at this point. So.
Well, basically, I mean he kind of hypes himself up, and then once he started, he just pressed the X button, and just knocks him out in one punch.
Yeah.
I thought it was a glitch or something. I was like, what the hell? It's like,
yeah.
And that's what I thought too.
No, I actually loved that a lot. That did that. I thought it was hysterical. I mean, it was classic Batman, where he just whooped ass and does not give a damn. I mean, you talk your talk, and Batman does not give a shit, and he just showed the electrocutioner what was good. I thought that was hilarious. That was great.
Yeah, I think that in and of itself merits you to check out. Maybe not purchase the game, but probably just check it out on YouTube. But that was one of my favorite parts of that game. And like you said, it was like that story. It definitely had some promise. It was interesting to think that you're gonna be going up against a different villain other than the Joker. Because I mean the Joker's great, but him and Batman have gone through it plenty of times, whether it be in the movies, the comic books, animated series. It was interesting to think that they were going to go about it in a different direction with a different villain. It would have been interesting if they actually went through with that rather than just kind of pulling the carpet from under you and just having it revealed as the Joker, which it at first doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because why would he be against Batman if I don't think they've even met at that point until later on.
Why the hell would you want to put a $50 million bounty on Batman if he doesn't even know who the hell he is? I mean, the motivation is not there. The Joker's a character that has, he has a psychotic motivation. And this seems deliberate, but in a way that doesn't make any sense. If that it doesn't seem. It's very out of character for the Joker to just say, let me dress up as Black Mask for Christmas, and then I'm just gonna put a bounty on this Batman character to have all these villains fight each other, to fight him. Like it doesn't make any sense. I don't see why would he do that. Why would he do that? Like that's usually not what he does. He's
usually one to take ownership of what he does. So
yeah,
for him to put on this facade throughout not really the whole game. I think it was about halfway through the game once you find that out.
Yeah,
it does seem like I mentioned before, this game does seem a bit rushed in terms of just the overall experience and even the story to some extent. I think so. I could be wrong, but I feel that probably the Warner Brothers Montreal was probably pressured to stick with probably having the Joker in there in a more in a more forefront capacity, other than just having some other no name villain that people may not be aware of that don't follow the comics, like Black Mask. I hear Black Mask is quite an interesting villain there, but they never really. It's kind of like the opposite of Batman, like what Batman could have become, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, I mean, it's not the switch that bothers me. It's the bait. It's the bait that I thought it was going to be this kind of game, and it turns out to be that kind of game, and it's just lukewarm. Yeah. Because if they had a story where the Joker was somebody else the entire time, if they do it well enough, I'm all for that. I don't care, but
Yeah, it seems
just
like they
yeah.
it seems like they wanted to go that route with Black Mask, but at like the last minute they were pressured to just have the Joker in it in a more main capacity, and some of the I get like they had an interesting premise, and also I guess they had the aspect of those other assassins just so that you can have these different fight encounters with them, and also have this other side of the story with the Joker. So that was definitely there for a reason.
It's just the majority of them. I mean, besides, I guess, Deathstroke, Bane, and Firefly, the majority of the rest of them, they don't really. They're just side missions. They don't
really contribute to the overall main story.
They don't serve as much of a threat. They're just kind of.
You can miss them too. You don't even have to do them.
I mean, there's one in particular that I was just like, why the hell is this? I don't know if you encountered some guy named Bird.
Yeah.
Is that even a character? Like, come on.
Apparently, he's Bane's right-hand man or something. From what I've gathered. But yeah,
it was just a regular old fight. It was such a lazy addition.
It was
Almost Wanted
definitely.
Page. I mean, I
don't know if you figured out what there was like one missing. I did all of them. There was like one on there that I haven't seen. That's left on the Most Wanted one. There's like one slot there that hasn't been opened up. I don't know if there's anything in there that's worth checking out. It could probably be DLC for all we know.
That's true. I mean, I think maybe that's from the criminal investigations. I think. I don't know. I don't have that one either. I have no idea who that could be. But I mean, even now that I think about it, there's the one character named Anarchy, who I thought was the way he progressed was kind of cool, where you had to stop the bombs and whatnot. But then I think about I guess maybe who they were trying to emulate, and that was that one character in Arkham City. I'm forgetting the name of him.
It was, yeah, like we mentioned, this game recycles a lot, and they just repackage a lot of things. That Anarchy thing was basically you encounter this guy was who sets bombs across the city. So you talk to some of his guys, and then they just kind of give you a couple of lines of dialogue, and that's when you kind of you rush from one place to the other, point A to point B. You have to get there before a certain time, like a time limit there. It is reminiscent of the Victor Zsasz side missions, where you answer the phone and then you go from point A to point B at a time limit. It's sort of that.
I was actually thinking of that other guy. I'm forgetting his name. He's tied into the whole Gotham City earthquake thing. Like you kind of see him. You have to, you go up to him. He's kind of like a ninja. Looks like he's wearing hockey gear. You walk up to him and he tells you a cryptic message, and he disappears. And you have to find him in another spot. Like if you look at the map in Arkham City, there are like symbols there, and you kind of have to decipher them in order to find out where he's at in his next area on the map. It was like Havoc or something like that. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember his name.
But yeah, it's like they took that character and Victor Zsasz and they put them together, because it's almost the same thing where you have to, go from place to place because you're waiting for a phone call. In this case, it's a bomb. It's just, and then just I don't know. They just didn't have the same. This game didn't have the same flair that Arkham City did, where even like the very small things, little details, held so much weight. I mean, I don't know if you remember there was that one side character or side villain in Arkham City that he's murdering people. He's like cutting their faces off, and then you find out he's trying to emulate you, Bruce Wayne, and then it kind of might lead into the next Batman game. Stuff like that. It's really cool. It's very small, but it's extremely cool.
Yeah,
and this
Hush.
one, there we go, Hush. And this one, it doesn't really quite do that for me. I mean, like I guess it's just me, but I just felt that the most impressive thing the most impressive thing to me was actually Gotham City, Arkham City before it was all flooded and everything, and the two little sectors. Just the way that it looks. I mean, it looks a lot like the previous one, but it's just, seeing some of the architecture there before it was destroyed was kind of cool to me, because it seems like they actually gave it there, and they were just like, all right, well, let's see what this will look like, if you rewind the clock and stuff like that. I don't think they have much to, I mean, they'd have a lot to draw upon, but it seemed like they put a lot of effort into that, into making the actual architecture of Arkham City. But
yeah, it didn't look too bad.
Yeah, I mean, I just
yeah, basically we had just a story that was there that was misleading in terms of the marketing, and then just having that in place that it never really ended up going anywhere, and just kind of got sidetracked. The interesting idea of that, and just a couple of other slightly twists that they added in there, where if you don't follow the comics, Bane finds out that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and he tears shit up at the Batcave, and had this moment where you think Alfred is dead, and then you revive him by punching the shit out of him with your electric shock gloves.
Yeah, it seems Batman's solution to everything is just punching the shit out of whatever the problem is, using his fists to not only hurt people but to save people. So
yeah, I mean, definitely the other moment I did find interesting, like this harken back to some of the kind of surreal moments in the past games, where it was the moment where Joker meets Harley Quinn before she's Harley Quinn, and he kind of goes into, and you kind of see him, you kind of walk through this whole process as him as the Red Hood. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, no, that was a really cool part of the game.
And just they
explain the origin story.
Yeah, a little bit of the origin story for him, and just the voice acting for the Joker was really good. Really, the standout voice work for that. Troy Baker's a beast.
Yeah, no, he's really good. I mean, I could say maybe the dialogue in this is better than the previous games. I think.
Yeah, some parts more than others. The performance for the Joker was good. I'm hoping he comes back for if they make another. If Rocksteady's making another Batman game, I hope he comes back to do the Joker, since Mark Hamill is retired as Joker.
Yeah, it seems he will be. It seems he will be. I think he did a stellar job at it.
Yeah, I don't know what you thought of the. I didn't necessarily mind. I thought the guy, the voice Batman was pretty decent. There were some moments where he did sound like Kevin Conroy, and he was also kind of channeling a little bit of not Christian Bale. It was a little bit better than Christian Bale, but when he was yelling, he sounded a little bit different than when he was just talking normal.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat Kevin Conroy. I mean, when I was watching you stream Arkham City and just listening, like, his voice is just majestic. It's ridiculous. But, you kind of just have to, not much we could do. We just have to accept it. I thought he did a really good job. It's a different interpretation of Batman. I have really no complaints about it. I thought he did well. And I think, some of the dialogue for Batman, I think they did an effective job channeling some of, Batman as a noob and some of his vulnerabilities. Like, they were very slight, but they were there, and I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, you mentioned the moment with Alfred, and there was a moment with when he first goes into the hotel, like I said before, to see the Joker. I think it's after that. I think he has like a quick little chat with Alfred, and he's just kind of like, I don't know about this. This is a little too much. It's a little too crazy. I haven't seen something quite like this. Like, you see a little bit of vulnerability, and you see him get mad too. He has a conversation with Alfred after he almost dies from being poisoned, and Alfred's just like, "Listen, I'm not gonna let you go. Kill yourself." And he's like, "I'm I'm the pimp Mag Daddy G of Gotham City, and I'm going to show you how everyone has to fear me. You know, and I thought that was. I mean, he obviously didn't say that, but
Yeah, there were some small character moments like that where you got a little bit of more emotion out of Batman in this one than the past games, where really nothing phases him in Arkham City, where a lot of what I think was good Batman storytelling is when he is at his low point. You know, definitely some really good character moments have come out of him with like Dark Knight Returns and such works of fiction like that, which they kind of channeled a little bit in some, definitely that scene where he was talking with Alfred, and Alfred not being 100% behind him on his going on his escapades and whooping ass.
yeah, yeah, and then there's also a little bit of growth, where he's dead set on working on his own, and Alfred's kind of like, maybe you could use a little bit of help, and he's like, nah. He's like, you use a little bit of help, and he's like, nah. And then finally, he's like, you know what? Maybe I can't really do everything on my own. Again, it's slight, but because Batman's like a John Wayne kind of character. Like he's a man's man. He doesn't really show weakness, but they're still able to show how deeply shattered of a man he is, and how he can have his low moments. But I don't want him to start crying and being all introverted, introspective. I still want him to be all gruff and rough and tumble like he usually is, but just has those moments here and there. And I thought, like they did, like I said before, there are certain things about this game that show a lot of promise, but it wasn't executed the way I would have wanted it to be. I mean, hopefully my theory is correct, where WWE Montreal was kind of put against the corner from the publisher and from the amount of time that they had. Maybe for the next one, since I guess they completed their mission, they made a Batman game that was pretty much like the previous Batman game, and they made its money. Maybe they can kind of do their thing. I'd like them to maybe make more of a singular story, instead of it being like this open playground of a place where you do different things here and there. I mean, I don't know what would you like to see from the next Batman game, from either one of the studios, or just in general?
I like to see it go back a little bit to the roots of Arkham Asylum, where it was just a very simple story. That compared to I didn't mind Arkham City, but Arkham City definitely
It got kind of crazy.
It got kind of crazy. It went all over the place because there were so many villains in there, which I didn't mind. It was fun to explore the different villains, but story wise, it was just some of them were just kind of thrown in there to be in there.
Yeah. But I mean, even in that game, it made a little bit of sense, because you get the idea that this is like a playground of sorts for the villains. I mean, that Arkham City exists because Arkham Asylum failed, and crime is so bad that they're just like, okay, we got to separate the crazies from the normal people of Gotham. Let's just give them their own place, and let's just let them, almost like Lord of the Flies. Gotham City just became that island where you keep all of the worst of the worst there. So, when Batman's going through his adventure, he's gonna pop up. This guy's gonna pop up, and that guy's gonna pop up. But just in this one, like I said, it didn't. I don't know. Didn't quite make sense having all these guys just randomly around. But I mean, the story wasn't amazing either in Arkham City. I thought it was, I agree that it felt kind of disjointed in a bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
It was hard to follow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at times it was, but it was still at the same time the setup was good, and a lot of it was better executed than in Arkham Origins, and a lot of it was just to have more more hours to play time, pretty much, just for the game's sake of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's about it. I don't know if you want to add anything else to it. I mean, yeah, Arkham Origins is pretty much like we stated before, it's much of the same, but it's just not as well done in terms of just, I guess, overall experience. Story. There are definitely some high points to the game. Some of the cutscenes are really well done. Like the pre-rendered stuff looks really nice, and some of the voice work is quite exceptional, and then a little bit of good points of dialogue here and there, and yeah, it's definitely a product that personally for me felt like it was a bit rushed, but
yeah, I mean it's just disappointing because Arkham Asylum was such a refreshing breath of air. Because there have been so many superhero games that have just sucked. I mean, there was a time where many people considered the best superhero game to be Spider-Man 2. And Arkham Asylum really just it set the bar. Like, I mean, it just blew everybody away. And Arkham City took it a step further, and to kind of take 3 steps back with this, it's very disappointing. And I remember when I played Arkham City, and I thought to myself, okay, if they make another Batman game that's just like this, then it's probably not, I might not like it. I might fear for the franchise, and I think this is a pivotal point right now. I mean, of course, whatever Rocksteady's doing, they can't go back on it. They're probably halfway through with it or whatever. But I just hope they veer into the positive direction as opposed to just rehashing it. Next Batman Arkham Origins 2. God forbid that's what they call the next one. That it's just like the same game. I'm worried. Because I want to see this succeed.
It's definitely a genuine concern. Yeah, I mean, you don't want it to end up being a yearly series that just rehashes a lot of things and maybe makes 1 or 2 slight improvements, much like the Assassin's Creed games. But I have some confidence in Rocksteady. I think they're a really good developer. They definitely shows with just the transition from Arkham Asylum to Arkham City that they definitely acknowledge the good points and bad points and definitely improved upon them in their sequel. So I can't imagine it being any different than that. I think that they would probably make much more improvements from Arkham City to whatever other game that they're going to work on.
Yeah. Well, here's hoping. Yeah, here's hoping the next Batman games are good, and here's hoping that all the other superheroes get the same kind of treatment that they gave Batman in the first 2 games. They gave to Batman with Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. So
definitely. So yeah, I guess this is going to be the end of our review here. So let us know what you guys thought of the game. If you're going to pick it up or not, or if you've actually played it, just leave your thoughts here and in the comments, or if you have any other questions you want to address to us, or any points you want to make to us, just go ahead and send us some tweets.
Yep.
Over on Twitter.
Twat them tweets.
So this will definitely be up. This week. So we'll see what happens. So you have a good night, folks. This is Splitter47 here signing off.
That's truthful. Bust the bust.
You need a new hobby.